You right. Man, I never go to someone else other than, unless there's no
Oh,
other choice.
he's gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
But he's trying to retire, so he's hardly ever available. And I'm like, I'm going on my trip tomorrow, it's too shaggy. I'm going to the other guy.
You're gonna fly now tomorrow? Oh, yes,
Tomorrow
true,
morning.
you're,
Tomorrow morning.
yeah.
So so I kinda like it,
But I
it's
like
pretty,
after.
pretty short.
On my drive there.
Well, you did say to me
So my-
that you actually got it there.
I wasn't outside.
I was thinking about that,
It
why?
wasn't
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know, I was in a spa.
yesterday.
Think of a whole elaborate story.
I felt like, hey, it was very urgent for my photo.
Yeah, every time I think about it, like,
Photos
oh,
were
that's
just
like,
horrible.
it's a lot, you know,
Yeah.
like.
You can come next time, something like that.
I'm reading, yeah, it could be really quickly.
Yeah, he got really mad last night.
Could go really
So how do I
south.
fix this?
I can feel when I start like thinking about it, my blood pressure goes up, like I can actually feel like my heart rate increasing. So I just have to like just calm it down, you know, just actively.
She said she can't handle 4 more years of trauma.
It's coming, it's gonna be worse this time. It'll be different. It'll be differently. Well, we got a preview.
We're not on right now, are we? No. You guys don't have our voices on there, do you?
That's true.
I mean, it's not, it's easier said than done, I'm just
I was gonna
saying
say,
like it's an interesting.
4 people disliked his opponent, who disliked him.
Well, it's hard to like have the library, like everyone, like Larry's popular and he eats at all the restaurants and
Yeah.
runs off all his calories with his dog and takes pictures of everything.
I just think it's gonna be,
You can like
Goes to
him, or you
everything.
can like him and not like him.
I think it's gonna be a hard citywide lift with another library,
Hmm.
right?
Well, cause they just broke ground on the other library, right?
Yeah, but and so like now, once in a couple of years that'll be built, maybe sooner. then
You
can
think
try-
that's gonna make it even harder?
Yes,
Time.
Except it could actually make it
okay,
easier,
it's time.
because it's usually
Time.
south somehow. Let's do it on the voting.
All right, let's go. We can start without unmuting then.
Yep.
Yeah, we have quorum. Hello, good evening. It is already 6 o'clock and we do have quorum and trustee Lee is on her way, so she should be joining us at any moment. Before we start, I wanted to welcome our instant translators. If you can please introduce yourself and tell us all about this wonderful service and how to get
Yes. Hello. Good evening, everyone. I'm Desmond. I'm here with my colleague Fabiola. We're the Spanish interpreters this evening. I'm going to give instructions directly in Spanish for those that are listening to how to activate the Zoom feature. Buenas noches. Se utilizará la función de interpretación de Zoom para soporte en inglés y español. Todos los participantes de esta llamada deben seleccionar su idioma de preferencia haciendo clic en el idioma correspondiente cuando la anfitrión active la función de interpretación. Dicha función se encuentra en el panel de herramientas en el icono del globo terráqueo. El modo de interpretación para esta reunión será el simultáneo. Gracias por su atención y colaboración.
Thank you, and with that, now we're all present in person. And if you can please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And with that, we are going to start with the living land acknowledgement. Sunnyvale School District is located on the ancestral and unceded land of the Mukweva Oglong tribe, who have peacefully honored and cared for this land for thousands of years. We recognize that every member of the Sunnyvale community continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land. We acknowledge our responsibility to learn from the wisdom of the Oglong people and consider how we might work to repair injustices and to move forward together in honorable ways. And with that, we are done with item 1 of our agenda, and we move to the second one, which is approval of the agenda. If there is any member of the audience who would like to speak about this, which is only about the order of things in our agenda, this is the moment to do so. Please raise your hand, either in person or electronically. Okay, seems we don't have any. Board, do we have a motion to accept the agenda as it is?
I move to approve tonight's agenda.
Okay, well, didn't you say you wanted to switch something?
Oh, yeah, we were gonna switch.
Remember?
11, A and B.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, so
sorry about that.
I will modify my motion to approve tonight's agenda with the exception of switching items 11A and B, switching the order of them. So we'll do 11B first and then 11A.
Okay, and this is to approve our chief instruction director to get to her flight tonight. So we are not as late. Any second?
I'll second that.
Okay, perfect. So we, everybody who is that instruction, did you say okay?
That's fine, that's good.
Okay. With that, we, everyone who would like to approve the agenda, please say aye. Aye. Okay, and with that, we have agenda, which is as it states, with the exception of 11A and B switching. Now we can move to the next item on our agenda, which is item 3. Public comments on closed sessions items. So we're gonna have a closed session right now, and is about conference with labor negotiation with other unions. The time limits allocated for public testimony are 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes per public comment. So if there is anyone who wishes to speak on this particular item, which is related to a closed session, please raise your hand now, either in person or electronically. Okay, since we don't have any, I think we can move to our closed session, and it's right now 6:05. Do we have an estimated of how long it's gonna take?
We'll be back by 7.
Okay, we'll definitely be back by 7. Thank you.
Sorry, guys. We're back by 7.
We can start.
No, we don't have to wait.
You don't have to wait.
The meeting's already started. 30 seconds.
Giving everybody time to log in at home.
Yeah.
Well, the meeting starts at 6.
Okay,
Yes.
so it is 7 o'clock. The budget is turn, and with that, we are coming back from closed session. We are on item 5, reconvene to open session, and as closed session announcement is that we just work on our employment negotiation. And with that, we can move to item 6, comments from the board and superintendent, and as usual, we're gonna start down the road.
Yes, I wanted to let everybody know tonight, I wanted to let everybody know tonight that I'm asking for accommodation because I have some issues with my neck, so if you see me standing up, it doesn't reflect on the conversation that's occurring right now. But I just want to be clear that people would be able to understand my wife for this unusual or not typical behavior at the board table. I have been engaged with CSBA around artificial intelligence. They had a really great webinar on that, and then the Santa Clara County School Board Association followed up with a great presentation about AI as well. I am counting down the meetings until I retire. So if there's times that I get a little conflict, please understand. I'm still very engaged in the journey until the very end. Thank you. And I wanted to congratulate formally my successor, Peggy Brewster, who will be coming on board in December. So thank you.
I think I'd be a ball of mess if I were you. Thank you so much. Yeah, you've given a lot of service. Thank you. I just wanted to just kind of quickly, there's so many thoughts related to election stuff, but I think the two things I just wanted to share briefly is one, when we were doing the Pledge of Allegiance today, it just reminded me just like the importance, like how important that oath is that I made, right? And not fighting for it. And Vice President Harris in her remarks yesterday had made, I'm not quoting her exactly right, but made a comment about that, right? We don't have an allegiance to a party or to a person, but to our country and to the Constitution and what it stands for, and that the rights of freedom for everyone. And anyway, just as I was doing the Pledge of Allegiance today, it was much more impactful as I was thinking about recent events and thinking about Vice President Harris's remarks. And then just kind of on right, and as my role as like a board member, right, as a person in our country, but also as a board member and for our students. And then just a personal kind of comment related to the election. I was surprised at how sad I was about the specific idea that our country is not yet ready to vote for a woman president. And I hadn't really thought about it, but it's just, that has been probably one of the hardest things that just, right, as a woman, like, right, we've made a lot of progress in our country, but there's still a long way to go. But on a positive note, I realized today that even though our country is not ready for a woman president yet, hopefully soon, our city is ready to have a majority of women on the city council. And I hadn't realized that I knew Eileen was gonna be on, but so that just made me like, okay, there are places where it's happening, and I'm grateful to be in Sunnyvale, and I'm taking on what Eileen would normally say in a meeting, not really specifically related, but just thoughts and feelings I was having. Maybe I'll carry that on even when you leave. I don't know.
I will be taking my seat on the city council. The results aren't finalized yet, but I have a pretty commanding lead.
You're not giving us any notice whatsoever yet. Right?
Yeah, I'm not giving notice yet. This is just, in the future, but I do plan on this to happen in the future. I will be joining a city council that is majority women for the first time in Sunnyvale's history, a majority women of color, a majority Asian, a majority millennial. And I just want to say that this is a really powerful testament to me about the power of the CVRA, the California Voting Rights Act. It is the honor of a lifetime to represent my constituents as a Sunnyvale School Board member and to continue to do so from another office as a Sunnyvale City Council member. I have so many conflicting feelings about how Tuesday went. It was indescribable. I was playing chess with my son and he goes, Daddy, mommy won. And my husband goes, that chess? And I was like, no, actually her election. And he was like, oh, that's a lot more believable. I've never beaten my son at chess. It's hard to, I don't know what's gonna come next. None of us know what's gonna come next. It was so, I don't wanna say surprising because I didn't let myself hope deeply enough to not be surprised. But it's where we are. It's where we are, and it's not just like one guy. It's like this is where we are because the majority of American voters decided this. But not here in Sunnyvale. And here in Sunnyvale, we're going to have a woman of color majority on the city council. And when I think of the U.S., I don't like thinking about Tuesday. I think what I tell people is. What I told people when I was running is that as a Sunnyvale School Board trustee, every kid who comes through the door is our kid. And that brings us back to me to what is essentially the American promise, that we are a multiracial, pluralistic, liberal democracy. The one with the statue that says, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. And that is what I will continue to aspire to push us to. Your turn.
Thanks. Okay, so joking aside, Tuesday was a nightmare in many cases at the federal level and local races. I'm really excited about local races. I just am just bracing myself for what's ahead. I think it's gonna be a very challenging time ahead for public education. I really want the teachers and the families and the staff to know that we are here to serve and protect them and love them and support them. So we're all here for each other, so that's it.
Good. Well, it has been interesting times. They keep getting interesting, for good or bad. About a month ago, I finished reading a book from Percival Everett called James, which is the story of Huckleberry Finn, the dog, from Jim's point of view, and it was very interesting. And I kept wondering about the vocabulary and the terms that the author was putting on the mouth of James, if they would be accurate, because they were very, very well put in a modern way from a modern perspective, I think, but still very valid. And then in the last couple of weeks, I've been reading all the books from a New Yorker writer from Dominican descent. She's called Julia Alvarez. And a couple of her books talk directly about this strong man that came mid-centuries called Trujillo and stayed there for 30 years. Like we all know, I'm after all coming from a country that put a strong man one day 25 years ago and still there. Thinking about it and how this couple of books were more about that. The other books of her, one of them came I think probably in the middle of the last administration of this president, where there were raids and how these characters were protecting their community and their immigrants. And another couple of her books were more about life of immigrants and minorities and struggle inside the United States. So I keep thinking a lot about this. And last weekend I went to the symphony twice was very interesting. On Saturday, there was the Dia de los Muertos with the Symphonic Orchestra of San Francisco. And the art expositions outside got, the theme this year was about Mexico City. And part of the expositions also related to the Adelitas, which are the revolutionary women of the revolution, and the Pancho Villas. So it was very interesting, together with, of course, the Catrinas from Posada. And then on Sunday, I got to go to the premiere of a piece about Elijah's son, that was the name, Elijah's Lovejoy, who was an abolitionist, and apparently one of the predecessors before the Civil War, that together with Uncle Tom Cabin's book, sparkled some outrage in the people. And part of his story that was told during the symphony was, something that I understood very well because I've seen it so many times in so many countries, in so many places, and it's still happening, which was that Elijah Lovejoy, he was counting on the Constitution and the First Amendment for his freedom of thought and freedom of expression. And he even moved to a free state, so a state where there were no slaves, and he still kept putting his publications with abolitionist thoughts, and he was getting people killed and a lot of uproar every time he tried to bring a new printing machine. And he kept talking about the First Amendment, and the Supreme Court at that moment said that the freedom of expression couldn't protect his thoughts when he was trying to uprise the people against pro-abolitionists. And we may think sometimes that we are safe because it's written somewhere, but remember that it's our interpretation of what is written somewhere, and we need to keep alert and fighting because it depends on who puts who where. So it doesn't mean that it's written somewhere that we have some rights. We need to defend them every day, and we need to be strong with them, and we need to believe in ourselves. And with that, we are going to be with our teachers, standing in front of our kids at every moment. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Just a couple of things. First, I want to express unbelievable gratitude and thanks to our community for their support of Measure Y. The fact that we're at 80%, I'm declaring that a world record. I don't think, they say that when you put anything on the ballot, I think the adage is that 30% say no right off the bat. or at least 25%. But to get 80% positive is just a true testament. And I sent a note to our staff on Wednesday, saying it really is a reflection of everyone's work, whether it's the bus drivers in the streets, our maintenance workers, the way they take care of the schools, certainly the teachers, the paraeducators in classrooms, the way that gets reflected in the community, our principals as their leadership, everyone in the organization, and of course, our parents as well, and ultimately our kids. So I couldn't be more grateful to be in this school district, not just because Measure Y passed, but because of the vote of confidence in our district. So I appreciate that. My other statement of appreciation is to Eileen. I feel grateful and honored to have been working with you for 2 years. And I think I told you this maybe about a year ago, or whenever it was when you were thinking about running for city council. This is not gonna be Eileen's last stop. Hang out there, do good for the city. Maybe you're mayor in 4 years. Maybe you're replacing Otto Lee at some point. Patrick Aaron's seat will be up when you're done with the city council, or maybe you're gonna be in Congress, I don't know.
Maybe the first female president, but hopefully
Maybe.
not.
But in all sincerity, Eileen, I really think that you have a great future ahead of you in leadership and service. And I thank you for your service here. And that's all I have for today.
Good. And with that, we come to a comment from the public, which is, we're starting with comments from the Sunnyvale Education Association. If there is any member from this body who wishes to speak to us today, please, this is the moment to raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, we move to the next item, comments from the California School Employees Association. If there is any member of this body who wishes to speak with us today. Okay, since none are there, we're gonna move to comments from the public. This portion of the agenda provides an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the governing board on any item of interest of the public. However, provisions of the Brown Act, Government Code 54954.2 preclude any action being taken on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. So we do have two that are general for this particular, the other ones are on agenda items. And if there is, members from one person online, okay. So we'll do the online after we do the in-person. We're gonna start with Peggy Brewster. Come on, and congratulations again.
Hello, my name is Peggy Shin Brewster. Good to see you all. I'm just here to comment on thanking the public for the resounding success of Measure Y. I'm proud to have been on that committee and super encouraged by how much the public supports our schools and just love that about Sunnyvale. Thanks.
Good, and the next person, Michelle Eugeni from Sunnyvale Education Foundation.
Hello, I'm Michelle Eugeni with the Sunnyvale Education Foundation, and I am pleased to come tonight with the third round of our school grants from the Ed Foundation supporting the 10 schools in the Sunnyvale School District, working in community to ensure an enriched education for all students. Tonight I have given Arthur, and Arthur, I have to apologize. I've misspelled your name multiple times in letters so far. I'll fix it from here on forward, okay? You have my word. So I've already given Arthur the checks, but to date, this brings us to over $100,000 in support for our schools. And
Thank you very much.
Well, gave Dr. Gallagher a list showing the latest round of things, but we continue to see strong interest in performing arts productions at our elementary and middle schools, and student club support. The JEDI resources continue to be a popular draw, and we have some additional support there. JEDI, just to remind you, is our acronym for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. It has nothing to do with Star Wars, so George Lucas, don't come after us. And we will continue to support needs across the district. We're pleased to have representation from most of our schools, but we do still seek members of the Cumberland, Cherry, Chase, or Bishop communities to join our board. And we thank you, school board, for your support, district staff for your ongoing support, and we look forward to coming to you in January with a memorandum of understanding to continue to grow our relationship. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we get a picture?
With the
Yeah.
envelope?
Is that possible?
Sure.
We have to have a lot of board members.
We have a,
We could take advantage of
Oh,
that.
nice. I thought we were gonna try.
I didn't get a fact check, I know. I still have to invest in a fact check.
Yeah.
Oh, we can fit, right?
Yeah.
It's a dialogue.
Because like, you know, brush.
So it should be someone from the FWA candidate to me,
Yeah, that's true. Well,
or to Isabel.
Okay.
well, it's addressed to you.
Oh, so, yeah.
Yeah, there we
Might be able
go.
to read
Are we all?
Not quite yet.
We can make 2 rows?
I was thinking this is the middle, getting a few more on this side would
Yeah,
probably
come
be
over
better.
here.
Yeah, that's right. Past, present, future.
Perfect.
Alright, and then maybe if I can get maybe a little bit this way. Perfect. Here, see everybody's faces. Perfect. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Play one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, SEA.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Yes, and now we have an online speaker.
Courtney Jansen.
Okay, Courtney, welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, good evening. My name is Courtney Jansen. I am a San Miguel parent. And tonight I am calling because I wanted to let you know that San Miguel officially has 4 amazing brand new kindergarten beds. I want to give a shout out to all of the parents and kids from San Miguel who helped build them. I won't read them because I only have 3 minutes. But I also specifically want to call out Maestra Maribeth Rodriguez at San Miguel for her support. She came in on 3 weekend days in order to help us get access to the garden bed space, worked with teachers to make sure we could get electrical access, and was generally amazingly supportive for this. I want to thank Brant for his ongoing help in getting rid of the pressure-treated lumber, which I learned the other week does not actually go to the Sunnyvale Smart Station. And I want to thank Intuitive Foundation for their grant of about $7,000 last year that we used to help actually rebuild these garden beds. So I encourage you all to come by and take a look. We don't have anything in them yet, but we are looking towards planting seeds at some point and collecting parent volunteers to make it go forward. So again, a huge shout out for all the San Miguel parents, Maestra Rodriguez and Brant for their help on this whole project. That's all I have.
Thank you. And with that, I think we're done with this item, comments from the public, and we move to consent agenda items. If we have any member of the community who is to speak about item 10, which are the consent agenda items to be approved, please raise your hand now. Okay, seeing none in person or online, then we move to the next item. Oh, sorry. And yeah, the action. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda items?
I will motion to approve.
Okay, a second?
I'll second.
Okay, everybody who would like to approve them, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, with that unanimously this pass. And now we go to the next item, which is 11, review and discussion, 11A. Oh, well, Now the new A, which is to be B, review and discuss high school district collaboration. And for that, we have our chief of instruction, Dr. Tasha Yee.
Okay. Good evening, board. This is an item that we've kind of talked about over the past several years. And so tonight will be an opportunity for us to get closer to what can a more formalized collaboration with our high school look like. So tonight is kind of an opportunity. We'll have an MOU that'll be coming later. That's a part of this bigger opportunity for discussion and collaboration with our high school district. We have some items that we are proposing. The items that are include things that we're already doing, but also some new opportunities and potential opportunities for us to grow our relationship, and which would improve our transition opportunities with the high school and vice versa. And then also our articulation for our students who are leaving us in 8th grade and going on to the high school. We are hopeful that this opportunity to really be thoughtful about this process will help us to get closer to our promise, our Sunnyvale promise to our students, which is looking at how we support them, not just when they're with us, but also looking to the future for our students and where they're going with regards to high school and beyond that as well. And so this collaboration and discussion is with that in mind. As a result, we will be, this collaboration actually focuses on all 4 of our strategic goals, which are about inclusive and nurturing environments, receiving equitable opportunities for growth, for our students to demonstrate responsibility for their learning, and then of course ultimately that our students are achieving mastery of core content areas, which ultimately allows them to have greater success in high school and beyond. And so with that, I'd like to take some time and an opportunity for conversations and questions with the board with regards to strengthening our collaboration efforts with our Fremont High School District.
Good, thank you. With that, we're gonna listen to some comments from the public. So this is the time to raise your hand electronically or in present, and we have 3 cards. We're gonna start with Gabriela Conde in person from Juntos.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gabriela Conde, and I come from San Miguel neighborhood. I'm from the Snail neighborhood, but San Miguel School. I want to ask how and when the school district will plan the pathway that takes the kids from the dual immersion K-8 in transitioning into the high school. Because I think that it is important to do it focusing on the strength that these kids bring from elementary and middle school into the high school, and using that strength, which is the biliteracy, make the fundamental or make it a priority for them not to lose what they have learned, what they have gained throughout the years, in terms of fluency, pronunciation, grammar, and comprehension. And most importantly, the social culturally competency. And I don't know if this is, this is a moment to share. I would like for the 2 school districts to talk and to design this pathway in a way that they can, for example, continue with the literature that they would do if they were in a Spanish school, in a Spanish-speaking school. And I know there's probably in high school a lot of topics, and there's little time for them to focus on only one, the literature from only one part of the world. But since these kids have been studying for such a long time in Spanish, it is important in that step, which is those important years, the teen years, to go more in depth in the literature that talks about the social aspects of the countries where their parents come from, so that they can build a stronger foundation and idea on how things happen, why things happen, And just, I think that will bring them a lot of understanding. So yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gita Golekota. Is that you? Golekota. Sorry.
Thank you, board members. My name is Gita Golekota. I am a parent of a second grader at Dallas. My son is very far from going to high school, but as an advocate for the special needs community, I do encounter a lot of parents in different scenarios and in a lot of special ed groups. I do want to ask the district to consider these solutions. First of all, I would like them to find information of how the kids that are going from special education are faring in high school. The data for that, from that is very helpful for us to determine what kind of interventions in the elementary and middle are going to be helpful for these kids. The second point is, I do see a need for us to expand the mild to moderate SDC and SAI curriculum, and for the expensive needs children to increase the academic rigor so more kids are on track for diploma or alternative diploma in high school. In addition, I wish our preparation for our kids for high school goes a little bit more in depth on the occupational therapy with respect to sensory regulation, sensory integration, which is unfortunately not part of the diagnostic manual, but it is widely recognized as an essential tool for the kids to be able to function well in the classroom. In addition to that, we need to recognize this not widely accepted gestalt language processing, the language component, the communication component is a big challenge when the kids are facing high school reading or comprehension. That is becoming an issue, and I wish that we give the appropriate supports for the gestalt language processor, which 80% of kids on the autistic spectrum have the gestalt language processing as their natural way of processing the language. In addition, executive function supports. These are supports that help these kids do their work on their own, help themselves learn their stuff, as well as be able to function as adults in their regular life, improve the quality of life, improve their ability to manage their own care, self-sufficiency efforts in adulthood. And these need to be practiced over and over and over, starting in the elementary, going into high school. So these are my requests as we go into that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Kathy Rowland.
It's rare I get to move the microphone up. My name is Katie Rowland, and I have two kids in the Juntos program, one at CMS and one at San Miguel Elementary School. And I was just so thrilled to see this topic on your agenda, and I'm really excited to see how this closer collaboration can enable both FUHSD and SSD to best serve its students. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to hearing your ideas and goals related to this at a future meeting. So my comments are in relation to Juntos students specifically in the proposed expanded collaboration and sharing between FUHSD and SSD. If you attended some of the FUHSD board meetings last year, you probably heard from a lot of Juntos parents, or if you went to the meeting between FUHSD and Juntos families that was held at CMS last year, a lot of people showed up because there's very significant family interest in this topic and in program outcomes generally. And there was a feeling following the meeting at CMS from some families that they didn't feel consulted, heard, or understood in relation to program goals. And in fact, when I was thinking about what I would say tonight, I asked another Juntos parent, hey, has anybody ever asked you why you're doing Juntos? Like formally? She said, no. I said, I don't think they've ever asked me either. I don't think they've ever asked my student. And I wonder if maybe asking parents and families and students what their goals are might help you as you think about the kind of data that you want to collect and the kind of analysis that you would want to undertake. I can tell you anecdotally that some of our worries and goals are the same as any parent would have in the district, but we also have some program-specific concerns that I hope that you'll address with your collaboration. Parents might worry or wonder, for example, what will happen to their child's English if they're in a Spanish program. There are parents who wonder, will my student actually achieve mastery of Spanish through this program? Is it being in this program going to mean my math scores are lower? Am I going to miss out on something else? Other parents are going to wonder about whether their student's going to be able to reclaim their heritage language or look forward to their children reading in Spanish, the same books that they might have grown up reading. And some people care about setting their students up for college. Some people are just looking to get to high school. Some people just wonder what's for dinner. Some of these you can collect data on and some of these you can't. But unless you understand the goals of the families and students that you serve, you will miss an important part of the collaboration piece. And so as you are engaging in this MOU with FUHSD, I hope you will also speak with families and understand their goals. Not only that, but if you understand our goals, then you can understand the gaps in parent understanding for how do we get there. And you can provide that parent education piece that's so important about what education looks like here and how we can all work together to set our students up for success. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any two people online? Okay, yes, so our first speaker online.
Courtney Jansen, followed by Alice and Joe.
Okay, Courtney, you can start. You have 2 minutes.
Hi again, Courtney Jansen, San Miguel parent. I agree with what has already been said, and I also apologize. I think maybe I'm missing something here, but I might have missed a presentation on the topic. I only see that 3-page PDF online, so I'm kind of basing my comments off of that. And like I said, I'm sorry if there's more information that I couldn't find. I really appreciate that the math and Juntos articulation program have been called here. I know that those are areas where parents have raised concerns previously, and I really appreciate that they are acknowledged. A couple other comments to make. First, I also really appreciate that teachers are mentioned in this, I guess, board collaboration cover letter thing. I did not see a mention of principals, which again, maybe I missed, but it feels to me like the principals of SMS and CMS should be called out as being in close collaboration with their counterparts at Fremont High and Homestead High. Second, I would like to track the number of Sunnyvale students who drop out, either right after 8th grade or at points during their high school career. I am worried that the transition from the Sunnyvale School District to Fremont Union is a easy point to lose kids, and I want to see what we're doing to make sure that that doesn't happen. Third, I'd like to see a little bit more clear discussion of what student data will be showed and how we can look at how Sunnyvale students are doing relative to students coming in from CUSD. And then fourth, if it's possible to fit in here something about transportation for students in North Sunnyvale. You know, you guys have heard a lot about that already. And it's just something that families struggle with that I hope that the high school district is starting to understand. But I also know that our district has a much better understanding of those needs and a way to help make sure that the high school district is able to meet those transportation needs as well. So again, students are able to focus on, you know, academics, after school activities and so forth, and staying as part of the community. I was going to add one more thing, but I don't remember what it was. So I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. And then our next speaker will be Alison Joe. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Allison Joe. I'm a parent at San Miguel. Thank you so much for having this agenda item with the coordination between the school districts. This is really exciting. I hope this is the start of an ongoing and sustained coordination between the districts. I'm really interested in the long-term outcomes and educational and economic trajectories for all of the students, and especially focusing on like high potential students that are coming from disadvantaged backgrounds. That tend to get left behind in the educational data and the educational experience, and who might otherwise think that their TK through 12th grade trajectory wouldn't lead to college. And knowing, I want to know that this is opening doors for students that might not think that was for them. Also, please make sure that there's pathways for achievement for students who might tend to be underrepresented in the advanced level academic classes, and addressing opportunities for addressing reduction of bias in who gets invited to take advanced placement classes. Because maybe some students who would have a lot of potential might not look like stereotypical AP students, and we're missing out. We're really missing out if we're not eliciting the capabilities and the brilliance that are within every student. And I'm speaking here as a parent from the Juntos Spanish Immersion Program, and especially with the first cohort of Juntos students, like really high level academic Spanish students in 9th grade, but currently. But I'm also speaking on behalf of all the students who will benefit from further coordination in articulation from middle school to high school, including math, and other subjects, and special education. So I just want to encourage us all to sustain this attention and focus on opportunities to close achievement gaps, and to make sure as an educational system, we're not inadvertently perpetuating disparities in privilege and achievement, but opening those doors wider, which I know everyone here is focused on. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for making this an agenda item. Good night.
Thank you. And I think that's all of the speakers for tonight. Okay, thank you all. And now I think we can do it in order. We can start on the line with Trustee Newark.
So I'm really excited about this. Over the years, there have been times and opportunities that we've been more collaborative than what we currently are. I realize we've had change of leadership, pandemic, but I think we're able to take a breath and refocus. And what the difference is this time is the MOU, because it puts forth a policy and intentionality of this, which has been which has not been sustained over transitions of staff, boards, and other things that come into public education. And I'm very encouraged about memorializing the intentionality of getting data into the particular process. I think the points that you highlighted in the areas are very salient to what it is that we need to understand experiences that our students are having high school and post-high school. And it will be very helpful to inform us on other things that we can be doing. It is a challenge of transitioning from one system to another system, and especially at the age at which kids are doing this transition. I know there's a lot of hopes and promises that will happen through this MOU. The one thing that I would like to see that isn't specifically articulated is an intentionality of joint meetings or joint reports. It's sometimes very difficult to actually physically get together as two boards trying to find and meet with schedules. But if there could be plenary teams that would give a report that would have the same content to both boards that could be discussed, that would be an acceptable alternative in this, to once again have that feedback loop mechanism for us at the policy level, that we're both getting, that both school systems are getting the same information in real time, and then we'll know how to move forward with that dialogue. I'll let everybody else speak, but I'm just So I'm just so excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited too. I just wanted to point out, I think it was Courtney maybe who had said it. For those who aren't familiar, on consent agenda, item numbers, and I'm trying to find it, I can shout it out.
10D.
10D, thank you. So 10D under consent is the MOU that Nancy was referring to. That is really gonna pave the way for the beginning of this collaboration partnership. So if people are interested, that gives you some more information, kind of some more details in there. So yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, this is something that pretty much since I first got on the board, I've been talking about. And I know Jeff, who'd been on the board previous, had too, and I actually ran into him at that County Teacher of the Year, and we were chatting, and I let him know that that like things are starting to move in that space, and so he was excited to hear that as well. I think it's from his high school background, is in his administration space. Anyway, I'm just super excited. And then I think my, I mean, I've shared this before, I don't know if in public meeting, but for sure with staff, right? I think as we're working on this, the Juntos, right, the collaboration, right? And some of the, like the letter that Alice and Joe had sent, months ago when all that stuff was happening, I think really articulates a lot of that space. It's like one example would be, if there's a book that they're reading in 6th grade, let's collaborate so they're not then reading that exact same book in 9th grade or whatever, kind of examples of that. And then I think I did bring this up at a recent meeting with the math stuff. I know that Fremont High School math leads were interested in connecting with us. And they maybe have already connected with our staff, but anyways, I'm just excited, right? There's lots of these pieces that it's been coming together for a while. And like with most things, they always take longer than we want them to, but I'm super excited that it's starting, and that, right, like hopefully in a year from now, right, we'll then be able to be talking about deeper ways of collaboration, once we've kind of done this initial. So I guess my main, like after we all kind of go, if there are specific, you're just kind of wanting our thoughts generally, because I think we all know we love it, or if there's specific questions or feedback staff that you have for us, maybe after everyone finishes. That's I'm like, what do you want from us from this discussion? I guess is kind of the question. But you can maybe answer that after everyone shares, or maybe you want to answer it now so then people can talk as they're going. That actually might be a good idea. Answer now, and then they can include that in their comments.
I think just the document is kind of us outlining as a district or as a teaching and learning team, areas that we could see advantageous, and also based upon input from families. Also input that we have to date from students, which we plan to get more of that, but based upon what we have to date. So the document is reflective of that, but also just wanted to have, are there other thoughts or wonderings about this process that the board had that maybe we missed or misunderstood? So having that clarification will be helpful as we move forward. And I think the other piece is just kind of reiterating that this is a delicate that we have to cultivate, because ultimately we are 2 separate districts. And so there's just certain practices that may be more challenging for the process. So we have to recognize that and be aware of that. But this is our first attempt, I guess, at what can be a more meaningful collaboration, and maybe allow it to grow and develop. But it would be a slow progression, because we have to both understand what we're doing and why, and then kind of move on from there. So I think just understand that context, and also if the document reflects the main nuggets or thoughts from the board, and if there's any additional ideas you think we should be thinking about.
That's great, thanks. I think my last comment real fast is just, it's different than the delegate you're referring to, but it reminded me, it was probably 4-ish years ago, when I was talking with someone about this space of, more collaboration, and the reminder of when you are collaborating with different, whether you're within your own district or separate district, with multiple elementary, middle, and high school, it could go really badly if people just start blaming each other. Like, well, you're causing this problem, and like, well, if you just did a better job, in both ways, not just looking down, but looking up higher. And just that reminder of, right, so that's another delicate piece you're talking about, is like, this is all about collaborating, not about blaming, right? Like, we all want the same things in the end, and so that delicate space of, this is not to call anybody out or blame anybody, but how do we work better together to better support our students, right? We're all in this together.
I'm curious whose idea the MOU was, because I think it's a good one.
Oh, if you liked it, it was mine. I think it's Jeremy.
Yeah, the MOU does two things. Yeah, when this was born out of last spring's, your priority charts, we started to discuss opportunities. So the MOU is really just that framework, and actually is a best practice between two districts. Like I think Michelle, you were alluding to, or Tasha, we're two separate entities. So it is a best practice to actually have an MOU about the data that we're actually sharing. So I would say the MOU is.
We're asking for data, right?
Right, and so it's the initial part, hopefully staffs have time to make meaning of the data, but the ideas about collaboration, I think that can actually happen absent the MOU, because the MOU for me, from my tech lens, is really the protection and preservation of the data that's going between two separate entities.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, and it formalizes the relationship. I hope that we're able to continue, as Nancy was saying, and make sure that it stays through ebbs and flows in the relationship between the two districts. And I think it's fantastic to have that formally written out. I'm curious, just as a baseline, not that I want to compare us to another district, if Fremont has such a formal relationship with CUSD, because anecdotally that collaboration seems to be tighter. I don't want to say I want to be like them, and I understand that they have a lot more kids going in, but I don't feel that Fremont takes a lot of, I don't think that in the status quo, Fremont strongly considers how our kids are coming into them as much as they do in CUSD. So, I just don't.
I would say we don't have enough information to make that inference, to be very honest, because I'm speaking more intimately from the populations that I'm more closely tied to, which are those in special education, those with IEPs, and who have more delicate situations. And I feel like we have actually very close relationship with those. When I think about our counseling programs and transitioning that off to the high school, if they don't have the support that we have provided students, and we know they really need it, they work to try to figure out how to continue that support for a student who we have described who really needs it and they can be successful with it. So I think the perception is that because they have more students, but I would say generally speaking, I don't know that we have enough information to say that's actually true.
Okay, that was purely anecdotal. I do want to say that in speaking with people, I feel that I need to call out specifically their special ed, that a lot of special ed parents feel that transition was done very well, and that by high school their kids are able to have what they need to access the curriculum. And so thank you special ed department. The one I was we touched on this, but the Juntos transition, a lot of parents were dissatisfied with that last year, and what can we do so that doesn't happen again? There was just, I think there is a fundamental, just like, the visions were different. The vision of what parents expected from the Juntos transition and then what Fremont expected to be giving to the Juntos kids was just not the same thing. Michelle mentioned that they were going to be reading a book that they had already read in 6th grade, and I think part of this to me is what can we expect a high school curriculum to deliver to our Juntos students? Like, are we asking for too much, or do we think that is the level that we are educating our Juntos students to beyond what Fremont can give them in a high school curriculum? Do we need to bring on other partners with this? Because I think that Patrick offered to collaborate with for us to collaborate with the community college district if we needed to design a class that would better fit our Juntos kids as they get to high school. I think that we can talk about that. Maybe the high school should talk about that, but I think that's a collaboration I would look forward to seeing. And then the other thing, we talked a lot about serving disadvantaged students, but I also want to make sure that we are serving our advanced students in our math pathways. There's just a lot of kids right now who get to high school and don't feel that we are putting them on even ground with the kids from the other district, and I wanna see what we can do to help that.
Okay, and I actually heard that, I think I heard in the presentation last time that the last couple of years that it's been good because we're using the same, for Algebra 1, we were using the same preparatory model before, Cupertino was, or Simpleton. Yes, for the high school district, as far as, like, they already have been working with CLIP for years, the Cupertino language immersion program for Mandarin. So they've dealt with, like, the high school district has integrated and found a pathway for the CLIP kids coming out of that school. So hopefully they can figure out a pathway for Juntos. My thought is actually I would like to make sure, I understand that all the things on here are bullet points and ideas for going forward, and that's not limited to this. But if these are gonna be areas of focus, I would really wanna make sure that it's not just academic pathways, like for, what kids are going into, like we're making sure where they go, but really giving us data points so that we can reflect on our own instructional practices here. Because, we know the numbers of kids who are going in to the high school district with points below standard, and we have no idea what happens to them once they get on the other side. And anecdotally, we're told that they've made those comments in the past where it's Sunnyvale kids who are dropping out, but they can't give us the kids, they can't tell us any information, so I'm real excited we're gonna have the data. All my questions have to do with like how we can make ourselves better. And I think what Michelle said about trust is absolutely true, and the blame game. And I've been told that they were worried that they know the data, but they've been worried to share with us because they don't want us to feel bad about our instruction. I'm like, are you kidding me? So and yet there's nothing to back it up, it's just they have a feeling. So I would just love to have a real conversation about it, separately or together, depending on what's appropriate for the topic. But these are not things that are exclusive, And then I actually was thinking like a lot of things are at the director level when I was looking through the discussion points of what are like the directors are communicating. But I think like Michelle was saying, I think it would be great if I know the kids go for tours to the high school district, and sometimes the high school students come and talk to them, or different people come and talk to them, but I think it would be great if the principals, those leadership teams had time to do that, given time. But data's a first step, I'm sure for the first year we'll just be learning. Good. Can I say one more thing? They are not as evolved on the culturally responsive teaching as we are. They don't have anti-racism in their mission or mantra, and we need to communicate with them about what we're doing around that. Thank you. Sorry. No, we're talking.
Yeah, I think that most of these we have been talking about a lot of this for a while, and I'm very happy that we're moving forward. And yes, I appreciate all the questions before, and I think that pretty much summarizes we're looking forward to it, not backwards, and we are really expecting to get a lot of data so we can improve ourselves and help our kids to be the best possible kids ever. that pretty much, I think, briefly say everything we want from this is to see how we can help so we can improve ourselves every day. Even if the data is good or not as good or is pretty bad, but if we don't know, we cannot fix it and move forward. So, good. Thank you. So I think we can move on. You have something else?
So I mentioned something about, having the accountability of report. Does that need to be in the MOU at the beginning point, or is that gonna be a deal breaker?
I would say it could be a deal breaker, I don't know that, but I think we first want to establish a good working relationship and understand what will be most meaningful, and that is kind of why we're starting at the director level, so we can have the conversations and cultivate that so that we can create safe spaces.
Okay, so in that safe space, I would like to have that conversation.
Okay, thank you. And I think,
One more thing.
Yes.
As our kids move into high school, I would really like for us, as the high school district receives especially those middle schoolers who this year were testing our ethic studies curriculum, I would really like to work with the high school district to see that is continued.
In the summer school?
Yeah, the summer school, because they were like piloting an ethnic studies curriculum that was
But I think it was a summer school program that was like over 3
okay, yeah, like
summers.
after those 3 summers and those kids those kids start in as freshmen, I would love to see if we could continue that very Americas focused, Latin, Hispanic focused ethnic studies curriculum continue for that cohort, especially because at that point we will have piloted it. Because from what I've seen of the Fremont ethnic studies curriculum, it really focuses on the Asian American experience, which is legitimate. I look like this, it's legitimate, it is. But for our students, for a lot of our students, I think having that Hispanic lens is important.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. With that, we move to our next item, 11, A on the paper, which is now B. Review and discuss inclusive restrooms, Sunnyvale Middle School modernization and beyond. And for that, we are gonna start with our Director of Facilities, Graham.
Sounds all right. All right, good evening, board, executive cabinet, members of the public. Tonight we have an opportunity to discuss all access restrooms. Specifically this evening, we'll touch on SB 760, the requirements of it. We'll talk about Sunnyvale Middle School specifically, and we have an expert on this topic in the audience tonight, Aaron with QKA. Him and his team have designed multiple bathrooms that are all access for other districts around this area. I want to start by stealing a little bit from Aaron and his colleague Joel. So this is a topic that has come up, both here and surrounding districts, and it's often on talking about specific boy-girl bathrooms, right? What QKA has done for me is reshaped my mindset on it. It wasn't what they've done is they wanted to understand how we can improve the restroom experience, period, end of story. How we do that, is how we're going to discuss tonight, different options that QKA has done recently. The goal of it being to understand how restrooms can improve holistically. We'll go over some survey data. We want you all to know that this survey data was specific to Sunnyvale Middle School and Columbia Middle School. This survey data was not pointed at all access restrooms at this point in time. Those surveys are forthcoming, but we wanted to have this open conversation first. So really quickly, Senate Bill 760 was brought up during the last board meeting. A couple of questions had come up, and so I wanted to briefly highlight some of the requirements, right? July 1st, 2026, that is the date in which every campus needs to have at least one all-access restroom for students. It needs to be free of barriers. It needs to have proper signage. It needs to be maintained effectively and properly. All of this is in an effort to make sure that all students feel comfortable on school campuses. Hands down, no questions asked, that requirement will be met by Sunnyvale School District. We will do that. What we're going to be talking about tonight is going above and beyond that. So wanted to lay that out there. Instead of continuing to talk, I'm going to turn this over to Aaron. He has all of these points that I was about to rattle off on this presentation. After Aaron goes through the presentation, we'll take questions, open discussion, and kind of drill down a little bit more.
Thanks, Frank. Thank you all for having me here to talk about this today. It is a topic that we talk about with a lot of school districts. It comes up on almost every project now, and it's great to be able to kind of expand the conversation around restrooms. So really our objectives tonight, you can see here, really just to help you better understand kind of what we see as best practices in design, what we see in the industry, and really start to explore ideas for Sunnyvale Middle School modernization project that we're working on now. And in the future, you may want to think about an overall policy regarding what you want to see in future projects. But it is also something that we and your other design teams can continue to explore on a project by project basis with all the people involved in that project. So we actually start this, a lot of you are probably familiar with this pyramid of, these are all familiar with this, right? Yeah. Okay, so we really see the bathroom part as part of that physiological needs at the very base of that pyramid. That, it's hard to concentrate on stuff if you don't have a safe place to go to the bathroom, and that can dominate your mental state, let's say, at any one time for that. And as Brent said, this can be a controversial conversation. It sometimes is framed that way, but the more that we've thought about it and talked to other designers and other schools about it and learned about this at conferences, it really is just about, there's an opportunity here to think about how we design bathrooms to be better for everyone, and safer, easier to supervise, more comfortable, more convenient, and more inclusive. And that's really the focus on everything. And that really is to make restroom design better for everyone. So we started here with the survey. And so we got over almost 1,100 responses from staff and mostly students at both middle schools. And we just asked some simple questions. So looking at just what is your gender identity, which is pretty straightforward. Looking at, do you use the restrooms at school? Which, good, 89% of the students do, but 10% of the students not, 10% of the students and presumably staff are in here somewhere too, not using the restrooms at school at all. It's not great. We shouldn't be trying to go 7-8 hours without using the restroom. And I think this is an important kind of distinction in that too, because it's not a yes or no kind of thing. There's only 15% that say they use the restrooms at school every day. Kids need to go to the bathroom every day. And so anyone not in that category is really not where we want people to be. Then do your restrooms meet your current needs? Kind of a similar distribution where you have only a few kids that really feel like they work really well, and a lot of kids somewhere in the middle, and some students really feel like they work pretty poorly. And then what barriers affect your use of the restrooms at school? Safety, cleanliness, comfort, and other, you can see there too. I would say that like in our experience and having kind of other projects that are further along and having more conversations with students, the cleanliness issues happen during the school day. So maybe you're not so much of a reflection on your staff, but just on, the best bathrooms get pretty messed up during the day. by the students in a lot of cases. And that's kind of one of the supervision of restrooms in those spaces is one of the things we'll talk about today too. And then just generally how comfortable you feel using the restrooms at school. I don't know that we expect everyone to be a level 5 in comfort in using the restrooms at school, but definitely wanting to not be towards the low end of the scale as well. So this is all really just to say that there's some room for improvement for everyone for how restrooms in school can work for them. And then just, do you feel that all students have access to a restroom that meets their needs? And about half your students don't feel that all students do. And that's obviously not what we want to see. So we asked just kind of some open-ended questions and made some word clouds here and give you a little bit of idea of kind of what students are thinking about, why what comes to mind when they think of the restrooms, and what they would like to see when it comes to the restrooms as well. So you can see it again, focus on cleanliness, but also, just on comfort, on safety, on having places that privacy, having a locks, those kinds of things are important too. So just kind of basic, we're all familiar with your gender specific male, female restrooms like we have here in this building, like you've all seen a million times. When we think about gender neutral restrooms, it's really changing the signs. Part of that is what Brent was talking about earlier, and a single occupancy restroom, that's pretty straightforward. We do see some uses where we try to just take the same infrastructure and use it in a different way, but that really doesn't address the core issues of privacy and inclusion as well. And what we see going to more and more is what we call kind of more of an individual and private restroom approach. So instead of a room with a door that you go in and then kind of partial height partitions separating the areas where the toilets are, it is individual rooms. They can be full height partitions, but we really prefer to do them as walls and doors for each one. Each one has a toilet in it. And then there is a common area where the sinks are that is usually not enclosed. It is usually open to to whatever kind of the circulation area is, whether it's a hallway or the exterior. So that it's just for use for everyone. It also makes it much more supervisable. So this gets into, we call this kind of individual and private because there's an individual private place for everyone to do what they need to do. But it is more inclusive because it's just a bathroom. It doesn't really have anything to do with gender or gender expression or any of that. It's a bathroom for everyone. And one of the things that in talking about this approach, these are two different kind of versions of that. You can see the one on the right is a little bit more open where there's kind of a half wall between the sinks and the hallways. The one on the left is a full wall. That happens to be Los Altos High School. So at the high school level, they wanted a little bit more of a screen there, and there are lots of different ways to do this, and we'll get into that in more detail with the staff and the students at Sunnyvale Middle School about what makes sense for that space in that building. But they both give a lot more privacy in the toilet stall area and more openness and connection to the rest of the space in the sink area of the bathroom. And one of the things we hear talking about this with, kind of in this diagram is that we can have a lot more supervision of the sink area of the bathroom as well, which is often where, as I think one principal called it, the shenanigans happen, and the behavior that we can't really supervise right now because it's in behind that sort of private space of the bathroom. But when it's open, we can supervise that. We can have security cameras there if we want, so we can kind of keep track of who's going in and out of the little enclosed rooms, which we do need to do. And we can also just, if you're walking by in the hallway, if at breaks, the staff member is kind of stationed there to supervise that and gives more supervision of that area. So you can see kind of a quick diagram of that here. And kind of a few specific things that we like to kind of keep in mind. We do want to try to do the full height walls and doors. That is a little bit more expensive. Having an exhaust fan and a light in each room, a floor drain in each room. Doors will do just little things like the hardware on the doors can have it so they stay open like 10 degrees until you pull them closed. So it's easy to just look real quick and see if someone's in there or not. Because if it's open a little bit, then no one's in there, and then you just pull it closed. It's just a normal door closer, it just has a setting on it for that. having locks that clearly indicate where they're occupied or not occupied, so that's clear for everyone, so you don't get people trying the doors when there's somebody in there and things like that. So little things with after the first couple, especially at the high school level, realized we need to put heat detecting fire alarms in there, not smoke detecting fire alarms, because if they go off every few hours, it's not very effective as a fire alarm anymore. So things like that we've learned to incorporate them and make them operationally as effective as possible as well. And there's a little bit different infrastructure. It does cost a little bit more to do it this way. It's just walls and doors are a little bit more expensive than toilet partitions. We have a few more floor drains, a few more pieces of plumbing equipment, but it's not a huge cost upgrade for a restroom, and then that is a very small part typically of a much larger project. It can be a little more complicated in an existing building. In a new construction, it's pretty straightforward. But in an existing building, there are limitations around the configuration and the size and the utility infrastructure and things like that we have to look at too. So here's a couple of kind of examples. So this is the one I showed you earlier at Los Altos High School. So you can see the floor plan there. This faces into a courtyard. So there's actually kind of a big roll-up door that opens up when they want to use during school. They'll open that up so students can come in and out. You can see at the top there's a regular door as well. We have to have that for exiting and things anyways, but if it's lower use time after hours or something, they can just leave that open. And we have the full height wall with the sinks on one side and then the restroom compartments on the back side there as well. And then this is a project we're working on right now that's actually in design. Just almost approved by DSA, and it is for Wood Middle School in Alameda. And so it's a 2-story building, and on the first floor, you can see on the left there's kind of an L-shaped configuration. There's a roll-up door at the top and a big set of double doors on the lower right, so that there's kind of a whole flow through circulation and visibility there. You'll notice the accessible stall at the bottom left of that also has a sink in it. Especially at the middle school level and high school as well. That's important for young women, and having a place where they can clean up in private if they need to as well. So having kind of one stall that's set up that way to provide that as well is also something that we try and do as well. And then the space on the bottom right is a custodial closet. So also things like that don't really need to be in separate spaces now, because we don't have to worry about the custodian being one gender and the bathroom being another. It's just a place where everyone can have access to. And then the second floor is kind of on that one is pretty similar. This is an example for a gym at Wood Middle School where we're looking at a kind of a similar area, kind of separating from that, an early design concept. I think they actually went back to more traditional restrooms here at the gym. They have the inclusive ones in the classroom building too. So part of this too, when we're looking at campuses, is it's not a one solution for every restroom too. In some cases, it's not going to make sense with existing buildings to change the format of one restroom, but having different types of restrooms on each campus can be helpful too. Some people may be more comfortable in a traditional, and kind of what they're used to as well. So that was kind of just wanted to give you a quick overview and kind of approach for how we typically think about this and how we've started this conversation at Sunnyvale Middle School. So I'm happy to answer any questions and have any kind of further discussion from you or anyone in the audience on this topic.
Thank you. And with that, we open the floor for the community input. If we have anyone online, this is the time to raise your hand. I see that we have some yellow cards. I think 3, 4. Is all of that?
That's A. They're all A, but this one's A, this one's A and C.
Okay, yeah, so we have 4 cards over here, we have 2 people online, so with that, we can definitely have 3 minutes per person. Thank you, and we're gonna start with Jessica Jarecki from Vargas School.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessie Jarecki. I am advocate at Vargas and at SMS. I wanted to say I'm really excited about the idea of having these large open to all gender bathrooms, because my main concern is that I want to make sure that we are not putting extra burden on people who need to use gender neutral bathrooms. So I did some quick math. So let's say you had one where you had to go 1 minute farther to go to the bathroom normally, like it's a farther walk of 1 minute. So that'd be 1 minute there, 1 minute back. That's 2 minutes total. You have 2 trips a day. So that's 4 minutes. And then you have 181 school days. I've learned this from coming to these things. So that's 724 minutes a school year, or 12 hours of school, which is 2 full days of school just to walk to the bathroom. So 1 minute doesn't seem like much or that much farther to go out of your way, but it can be very, very challenging over the school year, especially in our middle schools where school or classroom transition time is a total of 3 minutes. So you have 1 minute to walk there, 1 minute to walk back, 1 minute to get to your class. I don't think you can actually use the bathroom. I actually don't think you can use the bathroom with 3 minutes, to be honest. And so then you're taking out of classroom time to be able to go. So I just want to mention, like, please make sure we consider even these smaller increments of distance seem insignificant, but they can add up really quickly over the school year. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Ita Wilakota.
Thank you again for the opportunity to speak on this important topic. My name is Geeta Gulakota. I have a second grader at Dallas. In general, I am very passionate about special needs kids. So I am here to advocate on behalf of kids that are transgender or LGBTQ, who are about 80% of them are neurodiverse kids. So it is a topic that is very dear to me. Our Sunnyvale School District promises to know every student by their name, strength, need, and is ready to excel in high school and beyond and to lead a life of joy and purpose. Bathroom is a basic need. I'm very grateful for Brand to have done such a wonderful thought process to think about the whole set of needs, why this is an important topic. During the January strategic planning meeting, we some of us happened to meet a family who had a transgender kid who was attending one of our elementary schools. The kid was the kid was regularly bullied in the bathrooms, and to the extent that the kid was getting physical injuries. And the parents said they raised up the issue. I know our district is very responsive, but for some reason they did not get the support that they needed. And we later learned that the kid wanted to change his gender back, his or her gender back, just so that they don't face this this bullying in the restrooms. And eventually the parents decided to withdraw the kid to homeschool them. They were telling that they might, if this doesn't get resolved, they're going to withdraw them to homeschool them. Seems like that happened because we got to know that they are no longer with the district. I happened to take this mandatory training that Sunnyvale School District has for paraprofessionals, and it has slides that say that ND kids face about 6 times more bullying and equally likely to attempt suicide. That is because of lack of acceptance, and bathrooms is a big issue where they face this issue much more openly. They are outed, and it's much more harder for them. Having safe access to restroom is a basic need and without judgment. These kids deserve basic dignity to live their authentic lives. It's not only for these transgender kids. I also want to bring to your attention that there are a lot of neurodiverse girls. When they enter puberty, they do have interoception differences, which means that they get into embarrassing situations during their puberty, and having safe access to bathroom would help them recoup themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. And now our next speaker will be Ambrosio Stanley. You have 2 minutes.
Hello, I'm Ambrosia Studley. I've been a parent in the district for over 10 years, and I have a pin now from the 125th anniversary party to prove it. But I have a 5th grader at Fairwood, an 8th grader at SMS, and my oldest is a junior at Fremont. And I really appreciate this so much. I know it's now something we have to do, but I just really appreciate that we're doing it so thoughtfully. And I just wanted to make some comments around our promise that you guys have, which is really lovely. But to lead a life of joy and purpose, I just wanted us to think about trans joy and what that might look like. When we think of trans identity as a gift and not a burden, when we think of it as, when we have trans joy, we're able to show who we are, and it's not about fighting, or it's not about, trying so hard and so exhausting every day, to be honest, guys. But that it is a way to show our experience and our authentic selves, which fights transphobia. So I would like to look at this as a way to contribute to trans joy, to show that life, you can just live your life and it's not a big deal, and it's not about eternal struggling, and you can just go to the bathroom and it's not going to frame your whole day. So with that in mind, I wanted to say that so grateful for the presentation and these ideas, but I think that the only true bathroom that is for anyone is a single occupancy bathroom. When you go on your road trip and you think about where you're going to stop, we're not stopping at the gas station, right? We're stopping at Starbucks so we can go in, close the door, do our business. There's a sink, there's garbage, etc. I'm not going to split hairs about these different options. They're better than what we have. But let's see. Sorry, I threw this all together really last minute. Oh, right. So I think, those single occupancy bathrooms sprinkled throughout campus would be the ideal. I want us to think about how some boys have a uterus and they're going to need access to discrete period products. That I appreciate the survey of all students, and when I ask my kids, like, what do you guys want in a bathroom? They want it to be clean, they want privacy, they want paper towels, apparently they want a mirror. But that really, they want, they just want a clean bathroom. So my notes here, so I want us to think about not just surveying all the students, but having these bathrooms are for people with particular needs. And also please consider a gender neutral locker room, guys.
Thank you. Thanks. And with that, our last in-person talker tonight, speaker is Kathy Rowland.
Good evening. I'm Katie Rowland for the record, and I have students at CMS in San Miguel. Thank you so much for this super informative and really thoughtful presentation, and for sharing some promising designs that I think do a good job of balancing privacy and safety. I have 3 wonderings, like I should ask you. Look at that, we're going off script, that are related to this gender bathroom design at the middle school level. First, as Ambrosia said, how will menstrual products be safely and privately available in these designs? Secondly, what does the next stage of your research look like? The survey was such a great idea, and I appreciate the inclusion of student voice. I'd like to see these plans specifically presented to students at the middle schools, including LGBTQ+ groups, and hearing their thoughts. I'm hoping this will be done in a safe space, and that their findings will be shared later without attribution or without outing. Third, I want to echo Jesse's comment that students should be able to use a gender-inclusive bathroom without running into a situation where they're going to be marked tardy. No one wants that. They want to go to the water park at the end of the year. Have the locations of the bathrooms been considered with this in mind? Or have sites considered that more than 3 minutes might be needed? So I'd like you guys to think about the location of bathrooms and scheduling as you continue to explore inclusive bathrooms. And I hear maybe it's easy or definitely going to happen that we're going to meet these requirements. So hooray, I'm totally on board with this, totally on board with having bathrooms for everyone, and we can just do this everywhere and be done. But if you think you might not do something like this everywhere, then at the elementary school level, my expectation is that gender inclusive bathrooms are not just in the front office, okay? I enlisted my second grader today, who is in the 98th percentile for height, to time how long it took, because apparently Jesse and I have some weird synchronicity. Anyway, it took him 10 seconds to walk from the K2 play area to the bathroom that is sex segregated, and 1 minute and 4 seconds to walk to the front office. And that's before he waited in line for his turn, asked them to go to the bathroom, explained why he was there, and potentially could have outed himself right in the right situation. This is not a safe or a private solution, and it's also not equally accessible as sex segregated bathrooms are at the San Miguel campus. And as Jesse said, that minute really adds up when you math. And speaking of numbers, because we love them, another number for you to keep in mind is 72%. 72% is the percentage of increased suicide attempts by transgender and non-conforming teenagers that we can directly attribute to anti-trans state policies. As the trans person closest to me once said, it's actually not hard to be me or to be trans. It's just everyone else who makes it hard. So let's not make it hard. Let's give our kids such thoughtfully designed gender inclusive bathrooms and a beautiful message that even when it's scary outside, you are safe, welcome, and valued here. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we can move to the 3 people online. Oh, yes?
Can I do one real quick?
I didn't submit a card.
You submitted a card?
No, I didn't.
But she has it from earlier, so do you want to scribble on that one? Or?
Should we?
Maybe add on.
As long as you're not gonna go over 20 minutes.
Okay, we have time tonight.
Please consider the locker rooms as well.
Thanks. So now we go with the 3 people online, 2 people online. Okay.
Courtney Jansen, followed by Veronica.
Okay, Courtney, welcome. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, Courtney Jansen, San Miguel parent. This is the last time I'm going to speak tonight, I promise. I also wanted to add my voice to the importance of doing these gender inclusive or gender neutral bathrooms. I did send an email to the board today, but a couple of quick points. You all started the meeting tonight talking about the impact of the election of Donald Trump as president. One of those impacts I expect is that he will be making our LGBTQ plus community less safe. And so even though, yes, we have to do this legally, we have to do this to help keep our students safe. He talked about protecting students in our district, which is fantastic. And this seems like a very straightforward and important way of helping to protect them. I love the presentation with the floor to ceiling doors. Even as a heterosexual woman, I love walking into a place and seeing single occupancy bathrooms. I just it makes me feel so much happier than walking in and seeing a whole bunch of stalls where I could peek under if I wanted to, or my kids could try and climb on the toilet next door and peek over, or whatever you have. So I think these are a great way to head. I had done a little bit of reading, as you hopefully have also read. Moving towards gender neutral single occupancy stalls is associated with decreases of bullying, I'll say vandalism and so forth. And I have heard a lot of conversation among the board, which I like, about how to reduce chronic absenteeism among our students. And to me, it feels like if students know that there's a safe place for them to use the bathroom, they will be more likely to come to school, and they will feel as they're more a part of the community because we are taking their needs into place. To that point, as we figure out where to go, please grab student input as necessary. And I really like the idea that someone had about these bathrooms should be nearby, and they should be in such a way that a student can walk into these bathrooms and people don't automatically assume that that student is trans or otherwise different than any other student on campus. So thank you again for all of the work that you guys are doing on this. I'm very excited to see it and to be able to use single-use occupancy bathrooms at the schools. Thanks.
Thank you. And our next speaker online, you say Veronica? No. Oh, Veronica? Yes, please go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Veronica Brand. I am a parent of 2 children at San Miguel Elementary School. Thank you for the presentation. I enjoyed seeing the kind of pictures and the diagrams that you have of gender neutral bathrooms. I completely agree that having gender neutral bathrooms shouldn't be controversial. We should just have them. I'd love to see this implemented at most, if not all, of the bathroom locations at all the schools eventually. But to that end, I know this was a focus specifically on Sunnyvale Middle School, given that that school's undergoing renovation. But I would like to know the timeline for having these kinds of bathrooms at all of the other campuses, specifically also and also the elementary school bathrooms. One thing I also really loved about the kind of schematics was the lighting, especially with the half wall for the sinks. I think one thing when I think of when I remember from my own school days of the bathrooms is this really dark closed in space that is just not very fun. So I really loved kind of seeing the lighting, the natural lighting coming in and the wooden doors. That made it especially appealing, although I'm not sure about cost about what that would actually look like. But again, just mostly would like to see this at all the schools and wondering what the timeline is for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that was the last speaker. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you very much. We don't have action, but we do have a discussion. No voting or motion. So if we can start, I don't know if we want to start with any comments from, we just do ours?
Yeah, well, I mean, because unless you're saying, does Brent have more? Is that what you mean?
No, that they might wanna input the community. But
I think how it goes is we have to ask them, which the community, because the public doesn't ask them questions. We re-ask the public question, I think.
Okay, so do we start from down the?
Yeah, I think we've got some important student feedback, but in this journey, we need to also have parent feedback as well. So I'd like to know, sure that everybody knows when parent input is going to be happening in this discussion process. Then the other question or concern is one of hygiene for boys and hygiene for girls. I want to make sure, I want to make sure that there's enough pre-practice or others for us to understand what the toilet configuration is before they get there and be able to be respectful and accommodating. Because my personal experience in gender neutral bathrooms out in the community is less than satisfying in many respects. I realize that they would not necessarily have the same level of janitorial support as what we might, so understanding what the janitorial, if we're going to be changing any of the janitorial expectations, at least certainly initially to try and accommodate the cleanliness factor as we have the learning curve. Hygiene for girls, once again, is to make sure that there's a safe place for them to have menstrual products available that haven't been tampered with by any gender. And so I guess I'm looking at a blended situation on campuses where there would be gender neutral, all hands gender neutral, but also single stalls for both boys and traditionally identified boys and traditionally identified girls that would accommodate their unique needs, perhaps a urinal in one of the gender boys, if that's how they felt more comfortable, that would be a choice and an option. And then excuse me, and then the final thought is that as an early childhood educator, we've already made the leap and we have more open bathroom situations. So what I'm hoping is that as kids grow into having options that look similar to what they've experienced at earlier ages, that it will be less of a challenge in transition. So that the more open sync component, I really like and I really appreciate that as well. So I'll leave it there. There are lots of others, but those are the kinds of things.
I have a question, I'm clarifying, I think right now we have menstrual products in the boys and girls bathrooms at the middle schools and in the elementary schools, right? It's like provided right now.
In one boys' restroom, not every single one of them.
Not every single one?
Was there any specific questions from yours you were wanting to answer?
So the question was, how do we accommodate the cleanliness factor of, when there's initial, inclusive bathrooms, is there higher frequency of checking toilets because that could be a challenge? And an unintended barrier.
So I will say that is not a question that I've asked neighboring districts yet at this point. So I don't know if Aaron, you have any experience with that one, but that's not a question I've asked other districts.
Not specifically, no, I haven't asked that specific question.
You know, we've heard like horror stories about what goes on in those bathrooms from like a disgusting level, like not just the bananas down the toilet, but like poop on the walls and like all that sort of thing. So I actually think the open concept would actually possibly help with that because a little video camera, it's like, we don't really put video cameras in our bathrooms right now, right? So this is like a entryway area.
Yeah, I just want to be very clear on that.
Yeah, it's not pointed at the
Yeah,
thing,
like,
yeah. But I mean, I think that a cleanliness, so are you saying that like you think that individually cleaning each of them would be different than cleaning, like so a custodian going in and cleaning like one bathroom, closing the bathroom, cleaning all the things would be different than cleaning them one at a time? Do you think it would be more work or?
No, I'm just asking about would, at least initially, would there need to be more checks on the bathroom as everybody's transitioning to accommodating things because accidents happen.
Go.
Let me jump in here. These are all great questions. I think at this point, we're working with Aaron and QKA. We're learning about the designs and kind of the different ways we can accommodate certain needs. But in the short term, we know that new constructions, and we have one in front of us, Sunnyvale Middle, new constructions are a lot easier. So that process of designing the Sunnyvale Middle restroom has not begun. So once we get there, we'll dive into all of these types of questions.
But that was a tactical, practical kind of consideration that I wanted to have in on the input. And then
We're taking notes.
And perhaps not in this community, but in other communities have been concerned about where menstrual products are available. And have we, as we go through this, how can we have that conversation about where they'll be placed and being thoughtful and considerate in that discussion that's the reason why I suggested that if, some students may feel, more comfortable going to a bathroom that's, identified by the gender that they feel are reflective of them because they have expectations about what's going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think our initial recommendation with that would just be to put those products in every stall. And then they're just available and there and everyone can use them as they need to and they're useful. There's a little bit of a cost to that and each one of those little fixtures costs a little bit of money. It's not that much in the grand scheme of the projects that we're undertaking. So I'm not 100% sure that's what's been done on the previous projects, but that's where I would start. Is they're just available on every stall and then they're available in that private space too.
Thank you. Next.
I don't really have a whole lot to add. I mean, that was one of my, that was protected like the menstrual ones. And then I like this and I think this is great. I think that's my one question. You were saying that one of those is already in Los Altos or there is a design, it's already there, it's already being used.
There's one in Mountain View too.
Okay, both of the high schools. Is this their first year or have they had it all of last year? Like, when did they get them? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure they had at least all of last year and it might have been the year before that. But I know it's been at least a year, yeah. And I would say that there's one of the sort of models for this and the photo with like the yellow and the green and the wood doors is actually from St. Paul, Minnesota. And the St. Paul School District has done a lot of work on this and a design firm they work with out there. And they have a lot of materials and white papers and things like that published on their website. And they've done a lot of kind of post-occupancy survey of staff and things like that. And a lot of what we've learned is from presentations we've seen from them and people who work on that.
That's great, because that was kind of like, right, is my next piece, which I'm sure you're planning on it, but getting feedback from Los Altos and Mountain View about some of these things, right? The cleanliness, the other, right, to kind of help mitigate those spaces and, which, because it seems like there's different designs of like, it's clearly more open, but some, just the way different designs are. And if there's information about which ones seem to be more effective at deterring some of those problems that Bridget was talking about, right? Then I would say that would be the ones that I would support, but it's great, thank you.
I don't know if this is outside the scope of this particular discussion item, but I would appreciate if you could answer the question I think Veronica raised about the timeline for this for the rest of the schools.
Yeah, so if we're talking about all access, multi-occupancy restrooms, that's, as mentioned last time, that's a process, right? Aaron alluded to it during the presentation. That is checking out each one of the restrooms, checking the structural components of it and trying to reroute. So that is a longer process. Now in regards to timeline on getting information back to the board, we committed to getting information back at the early part of 2025.
And could you remind me again what the state mandates? What is the timeline the state mandates?
July 1st, 2026, at least one all-access gender-neutral restroom.
And that's one single occupancy restroom.
Not a multi-occupancy.
But I believe the state law for that is that it must be as accessible as the gender segregated bathroom.
Correct.
Are we on track for that?
We will be.
Okay. What else can you say? I wanted to say that the camera situation is, I think, going to go a long way towards, I don't know if it completely solves the safety problems, because whenever at our what was it called, their big gathering with the Hispanic families, our Equity Summit. Okay. At our Equity Summit, like consistently what comes up is that Hispanic families care about safety in bathrooms, and I think that the camera and this flow through will be a great way to solve that at Sunnyvale Middle. But I'm curious, I don't know if this falls under this. I hope we can address that in our other bathrooms as well. My son doesn't go to the bathroom at school. He runs home and then he's at home. Like as soon as he hits the door, he runs up the stairs and he goes to the bathroom and slams it shut. It's like on a timer, like I could clock it. Every day. That's just how it is every day. And I would like kids to be safe in the bathroom. All kids should be safe. And I understand that, there's shenaniganry afoot, but whatever we can do to mitigate that, I think is super important, and I think we need to take very deliberate steps to address that. The other thing I want to ask specifically about the design is mirrors. Are there mirrors on those half wall things? Do you just not have mirrors?
There's definitely not as much. So usually we'll try to find like somewhere in that bathroom where there's a piece of wall that you can hang a larger mirror on. And you could put mirrors like on the backs of the doors in the stalls. That's its own set of challenges, but I think typically we try to find 1 or 2 locations where you can put a mirror that's just not behind the sinks, that's just like on a wall.
It's like, as a middle school girl in the 90s, it was imperative that I have a mirror for my lip gloss,
Understand.
And so, having that. Yeah, right? Yeah.
They'll carry mirrors now too, right?
Okay, yeah,
So there's a little bit of that too, but.
In theory, they shouldn't be using them as.
It's true.
It's gonna be lockdown.
Sorry, my kids are in high school, I forget. They're allowed to use them in the hallways. But that is something that we do look at and is a concern. I think that's why I like the high school one. Part of why they hang it up with a full height wall is they can have mirrors on the back of that and they can have a little bit more of that space. And those are choices that we can make in each project, at each level and even in each school. And one of the questions that was asked earlier too was what's our process from here and our engagement from here. So we'll definitely be talking about this with the project steering committee, which includes parents and students and teachers. And then I think there was a suggestion about meeting with specific groups of students on the campus to get their input on it in a safe way. And I think we can work with the principal and the vice principal to do that. And that's a great idea as well. Whether that's through some sort of survey format or just sitting down and talking with them, whatever is the right. But I think, Vince and Jim, it would be the best people to tell us what the best way to do that is.
And then
just real quick, just back to the timeline. So the thought that staff has is that SMS will kind of be the pilot, right? Because it's a new construction, a lot easier to design from scratch. Once that's completed, CMS would be the next, I think, logical one to look at. That is those are existing restrooms. After that, I think it would take a little bit longer. There's a ton of unknowns that we would have to go through, bring back information to the board. And it kind of ties into the prioritization that you guys just did, and the use of the remaining bond funds. So there's a lot there that we'll have to get to later, but we want to be thoughtful and careful with the way we proceed with that. So those are our thoughts.
And then going back to the slides, so there was one with the accessible stall that had a sink in it, and that's the design we're going with.
That's a design from another video, so we haven't laid out the restrooms for Sunnyvale yet.
Oh, okay. I want to put in, I would like to advocate for that because in addition to disposable menstrual products, menstrual cups need to be rinsed out in the sink, and you want some privacy for that.
Absolutely.
What else am I gonna say? And then is the plan to have only gender neutral bathroom, like that as the only option, or also have gender segregated bathrooms?
No, I mean, for Sunnyvale Middle specifically, we're looking at in one of the new buildings, kind of right in the center of campus, having these all gender or their all access restrooms. But there are existing gendered restrooms on campus. There are existing gender restrooms in the buildings that are being completed right now, that are under construction right now. So there will be different options throughout the campus. And I think it's really kind of as you're renovating buildings, as you're renovating restrooms and looking at that, looking at what we can do to implement these strategies, but there's probably going to continue to be different options on each campus.
As I think about bathrooms that I've gone to, I want to say that if you ever land in SFO and land in the Harvey Milk Terminal, going to all gender bathrooms instead of the women's is fantastic because there's not a line. Yeah, I want to say that. And I've also been to this one hotel. I think it was in San Diego, and I don't think it was during AEC. No, it was I went, and what was interesting there was that they had a communal sink area, but separate men's and women's sides. And if we're looking for just like, this doesn't fall into the same category, but just having, I like that concept, you know, like, everyone needs to wash their hands, and you don't really need to, it's fine, it's a good concept. Yeah, check out the all gender bathrooms, that is the focus, number one.
Whole Foods has that,
The like trough.
yeah, the top thing.
Okay, so I have a few things. First of all, I love this so much because I'm telling you, it's like, you could just label these like WCs or something. Like, these are basically individual, super private bathrooms with doors and locks that actually work. It's like the dream for middle school bathrooms and bathrooms in general. So I don't even think it is all gender, it is gender neutral, it is inclusive, it's all these wonderful things. But it's also gonna be like the vegetarian entree at any, planned dinner, where like, this is gonna be scooped up. People are gonna wanna use those bathrooms because that these are gonna be the best functioning bathrooms that you can possibly imagine as a middle school kid. So, I mean, I just don't, I think I think when you talk to the parents, if you explain to them, these are private bathrooms with a shared sink, I think that they will understand it better, like like what we're talking about here. I also really think that for the other sites, I'm really hopeful, I was really hoping that we would get to see like a plan with like marked up where just the single use, like when Ambrosia was talking about like a sprinkling of these all over the campuses. Because if you're a kid on like at Fairwood, I'm thinking of Fairwood, if you're a kid on the lower grade playground, right? Like, you're not gonna wanna run around to the one gender neutral bathroom on the 3rd through 5th grade playground, right? Or the 4th through 5th grade playground. Like, you're gonna need one on each side. And I would just love to see where they're going, and like, let's just do them now. I can't imagine, I'm probably taking over a staff bathroom, that's like a different discussion for Jeremy and everybody to have. But really, like, it's just so critical that like everybody has, sorry, Jeremy. But it's so critical for everyone to have a toilet that they can use and like access that I just think that if we just saw it marked up on a map, like we could say yes, yay, the teachers could input on it and staff could input on it, and we could just like move forward. So that would be like what I would hope we would get to see like soon, not in 2026, and not waiting until let's see how SMS goes, like let's just do that. Because I think we all had board agreement on that before. So
I think, Brent, isn't that what you're saying would be coming
Yeah, the single
to
occupancy
us,
ones?
like
No?
the idea?
2026.
No, he said in early 2025.
Yeah, like showing locations.
Yeah, that's what he said, is what you're talking about.
Okay.
Like,
Single
in a few
occupancy,
months.
not multi-occupancy.
Right, okay, so, but that wouldn't wait till 2026 to get done, right?
Can I defer that till like we figure out
Yes,
like what
you'll tell us then,
require?
okay, all right,
Kind of the scope of the work.
you'll tell us then, all right.
Just
So,
a sign, it could be.
moving on with the vegetarian entree. I just wanna say, I absolutely do not think there's a necessity for a urinal in any one of those things. We all have bathrooms at home without urinals, many of us, I don't know anyone who has a urinal at home. So maybe somebody does, I don't know if anyone has a fancy enough house to have that. I know there's bidets, we don't need any bidets. All we need is like a functioning door with a really good lock, and I love it that it's gonna tell you someone's in there, someone's not in there, like, perfect. It's the dream. So I love that, and yes, let's put menstrual products everywhere, and I just am so excited about this, and I think I know that there's fear, like, are you gonna take away the girls' bathroom to the boys' bathroom? But like Eileen said, like even the elementary school kids, like if they could have a nice bathroom where they could really shut the door, they'd probably love it. But we don't know if there's gonna be a Department of Education in February, so we're just gonna like roll with it. So I'm good.
So, thank you for all the community who had input, and I think that from the community and from us, you should have enough direction again. We can just make it a little bit clearer. Yes, we are all for it, we love it. I think that what I understand that is gonna happen is that the new building that is getting right now, that is under construction right now, is definitely gonna have one of these little individual bathrooms with a shared sink. That's what we are hoping. If it's not designed now, that's what we
Well,
want.
Well, yeah, we were having gender
I
neutral
wanna-
in, what do we have, what's our one for the new building?
Single occupancy, all like gender neutral restroom on the new building, not the multi-occupancy.
Okay.
The multi-occupancy is what is being designed currently
building.
Okay.
in the facility, like the site plan that we looked at
Also
last
gonna be
time.
the vegetarian option.
Okay, and that's gonna be on Sunnyvale Middle School.
Middle school.
When the next phase.
Correct.
Is okay. Which will probably, and I think that we were also talking about possible priorities. Definitely we're gonna be putting equally centric, independent, neutral gender bathrooms on elementary school. With some minor remodel or adapting of whatever we have, so they are as accessible as the, how do we call them, segregated gender ones. Before the 2026, or as soon as we can manage that, probably after we finish with the middle school, couple of years, we're gonna have further expansion if we have any money left to keep improving, and hopefully one day we're gonna have these amazing jet set bathrooms everywhere in every little school, elementary, preschool, everybody. We're gonna have super duper individual stalls for everybody. But so far, at least centric, gender neutrals, equally accessible for everybody in all the schools.
I have a question, one more question. So my question is, what about the locker room situation? Like, I know Ambrosia, and we got another shout out, but like in general, like what is, right now, there's probably no plan, sounds like it was like not a plan, but have you done those before? Have you seen those?
So
Is there a section?
It's definitely not as clear what, and I think kind of a little bit much more complicated in a lot of ways. And we haven't really implemented that. We had a lot of conversations about it, and in sort of internally in our own firm, but also with when we go to conferences and things like that too. I think one of the things about the restroom solution is that solution doesn't take a lot more space or a lot more money than what we do right now. And it's improved supervision, improved safety in that way. Locker rooms are much more complicated in that way, right? We don't have the space to create a private space for every student to change. That would take much more space than the current kind of locker room layouts would be, and it would not be very efficient because it all happens at once, right? You need space for 200 kids to change in 5 minutes. And so I think where I sort of lean to that is what I think might be the right solution is just to have private spaces in each locker room for students that want more privacy to change, like shower stalls essentially, right? We don't really do the big open shower rooms because no one's used those in 25 years. And so we'll do individual like little shower compartments, and those could also be changing compartments, and you could have a few more that are restroom, and you have restrooms set up like this, so you have private spaces in the locker rooms for students who want them to change. I think it's possible to have a separate sort of non-gendered locker room space, but that can be complicated from a supervision standpoint. And I think what's also nice about this is you don't have like the separate space for certain kids that need to use that's different from the boys and girls space. Like in the restrooms is just the restroom. And I don't know that there's really a way to do that with the locker rooms, because you can't just have a space where everyone can be private. There's not enough room. That would be huge, right? So I think that's kind of the thinking about it and kind of where we're at with that, and we can explore that a little bit more. We have those locker rooms that are part of the Sunnyvale Middle School project too. They're gonna be built a little bit later, so we have a little more time to think about that and kind of look at some different ideas around that. But those are just kind of some initial thoughts about what might make the most sense in that environment, and it'd be good to talk with the staff the PE staff as well as the administrative staff at Sangerville Middle, and the kids too, for sure too. But thinking about the staff more from the supervision standpoint and what's going to work logistically, and obviously the kids from what's going to be most comfortable for them. But that's kind of in general what we've seen. We have seen some, like there's a small locker room space that has lockers that are very visible, that are, you know, maybe there's glass or something so they can be seen from the hallway, and then there are changing compartments. And that I think can work too. I wonder about kind of creating a separate kind of third space that, you know, what we want to do is make it as inclusive as possible. So it's not a separate thing. It's everyone has the same experience. Does that make sense?
I just want to be clear, manage expectations just a tad bit. There's no way to kind of just create what you saw up on that screen at every existing restroom. These projects are very nuanced, have to be carefully thought through, and there is an opportunity cost to every one of the decisions that we make. With the immense community support that we continue to see, you know, and as stewards of public funds, we want to make sure that we give you all the information that you need to make informed decisions. Because every decision that we make with the existing or the remaining bond funds could have an opportunity cost elsewhere. So I say all that to say, we plan on keeping you guys in the fold. We plan on bringing back information, a lot of it for you guys, so that going forward, we'll make sure that we do this the right way. Yes, next.
So I'm just gonna make a time check now. We're at 9:05. Our goal is to end meetings at 9 o'clock. It's okay to go later. We do have some more agenda items, so let's just think about that as we continue the discussion.
So then our goal will be to definitely have the individual ones for elementary, roll up as much as we can on middle school, including CMS will be the next one after we finish SMS, and then we'll definitely putting it on our agenda of facilities for any new school that is down the list of renewal we'll have.
Like I would hope that we would have one at each middle school. Like if we're doing CMS anyway next, I mean, that's the dream, right?
Yeah, we start with middle school, and then as we improve our facilities down the road, we will keep doing these wonderful things later on.
Right, because the reality is every time you want to do construction, it goes through an approval process. So that alone changes any trajectory that we would want to do. It adds on time and go out.
I think we've said everything on this.
Well, perfect. Thank you very much, and thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
For coming and staying here late. And with that, I think we gave a lot of,
We had one more, Jesse had one on
directions.
C as well. She
Huh?
had 11C.
Okay.
Jesse.
Okay, yes. So with that, we move to the next item, 11C, which is the school year calendar. And for that, I think Jeremy will be telling us more.
Yes, the next item, 11C, is the proposed calendar for the 25-26 school year. I apologize, there was a working there's like a second page that inadvertently got attached, so we're paying attention to the one that says 25-26. This is based off of the Fremont Union High School District calendar, and again, that's just another great opportunity of collaboration between the two districts, so we appreciate their support in that. And this basically follows the same format as we did last year, and so I can just go over that, but we wanted to bring it for just information this time, and with a planned adoption at the next board meeting in December. We are around that time frame where everyone's making plans for the following year, so we are trying to meet that and approve the calendar for next year. So that's what's up for discussion tonight.
Good. And then with that, we're gonna start with comments from the community. We do have 2 yellow cards here in person, and this is the time of anyone online who would like to have an input in this to raise your hand. Okay, so far nobody. So we're gonna start with Jessica Jurecki. She was including this one in her old card. Thank you, come in, you have 2 minutes.
Hello, in case you don't know who I am Jessie Jurecki, and I have a child at Fergus and at SMS. The reason I wanted to comment on this is I looked at January, and I want to suggest that that is really, really challenging for parents to have days off at the beginning of January, the next week having a TLD, then the next week having Martin Luther King Day and a teacher learning or in-service day, I don't remember what it's called, another day off. If there's any way we could space that out just a little bit for parents, or, you know, maybe move that teacher in-service day to the, long 2-week vacation, have it be the first day back. Just have it so it's more concentrated in when people are already taking off, so that they're not having to take off over and over and over again all in the same month. I really think parents would appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. And then our next speaker in person will be Michelle Eugenie. Welcome. Okay.
I did a card this time because this is me as a parent, not with the Ed Foundation. Michelle Eugenie, SMS parent, also happened to be a Vargas and Cherry Chase volunteer. And looking at the calendar, and sorry, Jessie, I totally, once I heard your comment, now I'm gonna hear mine and it may counteract it. November, Veterans Day, which of course we have this year on a Monday, lovely. Next year is on a Tuesday observed, which creates a floating random Monday of school, then Tuesday off, and then school Wednesday through Friday, and that's gonna be completely nutty. And then I noticed school ends on a Wednesday, June 10th. And so an idea, go to Thursday, take Monday off in November. Just a thought.
Thank you. And with that, we have, do we have any online person? Okay, we don't have any online person. Okay, so this is for your discussion. There's one. Okay, sure.
Courtney Jansen.
I'm sorry. I lied earlier, apparently. Can you hear me okay? Yes, you can hear me.
Yeah.
So maybe to combine the two suggestions I just heard, the staff development day on January 20th could get moved to November 10th, which is that Monday. I have not looked at my work schedule, but I'm quite confident I do not get Monday, November 10th off. But I also don't get January 20th off, so I would rather have November 10th where I have to figure out something than trying to do it in January 20th. And then the other question I have is, what is a teacher non-duty day on March 16th, and how is that different from a staff development day? And that's it.
Okay, thank you. And with.
You can clarify.
Huh?
You can clarify. Mike can clarify.
You wanna, Mike, you wanna clarify?
I'm gonna defer to Jeremy.
Yes, I'd like to clarify. The March teacher non-duty day is a no student, no teacher day. A staff development day is a teacher work day for professional development and no students. So that there's that determination in that piece. So.
Yes, from the parent point of view, you just submit your kids.
Correct. From the parent point of view, there's no difference.
Okay.
And the March day matches with the high school district.
That is correct. The March, yes, we align with the Fremont Union High School District on that 17th.
Okay, thank you. Well, there is no voting, so if we have any clarifying question or comments from the board, this is the moment.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do middle schools not get TLD early release?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct, because they have late start Wednesdays.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay.
So I don't think we should plan on having the teachers come for one duty day on the 10th and then have the day off on Veterans Day. I also like the idea of giving them, like extending that somehow. Like if that could be a day where.
Have the 10th off.
Have the 10th off.
Was that a discussion, I'm sorry to interject, was that a discussion you had with staff about, do we want to have that day off and add a day at the end of the school? Because I know one of the years we did do that. Like one year we did put a non-duty day in between the Veterans Day gap and add a day at the end of the school year. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, so we actually.
What just with staff and what staff?
Right, we actually already have vetted this with SCA and CSCA, so we're bringing this, yes, it's like,
They prefer that?
they've already seen this, yes, so the getting off on the 11th in June, it was kind of the,
Late?
yeah, no, not late, that's preferred. This year we actually go to Friday, because we go to Thursday, because we get the Friday before, now I apologize, I'm getting,
You go to Thursday, you go to
yes.
Thursday.
Staff goes to Friday this year.
This year because
Next
we-
year, this proposed one, staff went in on Thursday,
Correct.
and they liked that idea.
That is correct.
More than having.
No, this one ends on a Wednesday. June 10th is a.
No, teacher,
Teachers.
yeah. The staff was in, so I was like,
And then I'll just comment to the shifting of the staff development day to that day probably wouldn't work. We try to space out the 2 staff development days to make sure that we have an opportunity mid-year to tune up and check, so that's why.
I don't think the parents are gonna attend that. I mean, the kids are, I think it's gonna be. I think people will take a vacation if they can.
it will be interesting if we like us kind of see that, if we get a long vacation, maybe next time.
You know what I mean? That's right, and, right.
And shouldn't about that trip.
No, I'm in January, and, I'm okay.
Okay. Well, so I'm not I'm really not crazy about having that Tuesday, but I'm not gonna argue if they've already vetted it and decided it. But
I can re-interrogate that with them if you'd like.
I think that would,
You talking about
before we bring
Veterans
it
Day?
back,
Yeah, we're bringing it
Not
back
to
anyway.
interrogate, but just to double
Sorry.
check that maybe they weren't aware and didn't
Wow,
realize
Jeremy.
that.
I'm interrogating myself, that I apologize, Mike knows this, I overuse that word when we really wanna take a good look at something.
Yeah.
We meet with SCA tomorrow and we have CSDA next week, so I can just pose that, like, hey, the 10th Monday, your thoughts?
Yeah.
But the what is it, the problem with that, then it pushes it back out to Friday, so.
I like that idea, just doing a double check, like say, hey, just wanna make sure that you saw this, and this is what you would prefer. Does that
Correct.
seem good to you, Bridget?
Not
No?
answer for Bridget, but
Yeah.
sounds good to me.
sure, I mean, so we're not just gonna throw this back on consent, we're gonna talk about it, review and approve? Even if it's only for a few minutes, or
with-
you're
if
gonna
there
just
was no-
send us a note,
If there
or,
was no changes, I would have
Consent.
recommended bringing it back on consent, but with this
Okay.
thing, I can bring it back.
Okay.
Well, how about this, maybe?
just let us, okay, maybe sounds good.
Okay. I do appreciate the, we can't fully align, but doing the best we can to align with high school, I think is a helpful space.
And I like the Thanksgiving week off, I think that's,
Dr.
Good.
Gallagher said we may never go back, so.
Once you do that, you can never go back.
But I would say, I think I said that in my comments, I would be interested to hear, I would assume that people are going to like it, but that could be a wrong assumption, so I think. I know you use SCA and CSA regularly, so checking with them a week or 2 after to getting their feedback, and if for some reason they're like, oh, we hated that coming back to school because we're, I don't know what it might be, but if for some reason, then that would be another thing to possibly bring back of.
So we are checking.
I just don't wanna make the assumption, even though the assumption probably is accurate.
That is correct, and we are checking all aspects of the calendars that we tweak. And actually Fremont has approved their 26-27 calendar, we're holding off till we get through one cycle of ours, including Thanksgiving week, so, to evaluate.
Okay. Thank you. So with that, we're ready to move to 11D, review and discuss board policy 1114, district sponsored social media. Hi,
Ms. Wilson.
okay.
Good evening, board. This update is just to reflect the changes as brought up by CSBA, just a few minor changes.
Okay, thank you. If there is any comment from the public related to this particular item 11D, this is the moment. Please raise your hand, electronic or in person. We don't have any cards or comments. Okay. Is there any relevant questions from the board related to this item 11D?
Good.
Thank you. Thank you for your work on this. So we move to the next 11E, review and discuss board by law 9223 about filling vacancies.
Yes, vacancies. So we discussed this earlier in the year, and I don't remember exactly when it was. But part of this is a routine update based on CSBA recommendations. And there were a couple comments from the board for clarification. One had to do with making sure that if a board member were pregnant, how to handle that. And so we checked with counsel on that. I don't love the legal definition of pregnancy as an illness, but that's the legal definition, unfortunately. The attorney did advise on this and the next one that we be very careful not to change language that would create ever so subtle a conflict with the law, because these policies are intended to be aligned closely with the law, because the law supersedes what we do in most cases. So that is 9223.
Perfect. If there is any comment from the community related to this particular item, please raise your hand or leave a card. Okay, none in person or online. Board, do we have comments, questions related to this particular item? Yes?
It was one of mine, in the packet, just the piece that was pulled out about the, essentially, when there's a vacancy, the places you're gonna post it, that being pulled out. So if that is a law thing that has to change, that's fine, but I like that space because it's essentially saying we're gonna do as much as we can to spread this information to everybody, and so.
And we have that in our governance handbook.
Yeah. Not about filling vacancies.
No, yes, we do.
I don't think there's anything about filling vacancies in our governance.
No, there isn't.
No, like, I guess I'm thinking about when there is a vacancy, or when there's an election, we do everything we can to promote it. That's what I'm thinking.
About elections, yeah.
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 So this would, I guess this,
Yeah.
we would want a similar approach.
Yeah, so, I mean, so like, right, the response is that we're gonna do those things, like this time, that's fine, but I just want to make sure, right, that
Yeah, and I don't know
it's not a
why,
one-off, but that, right, when we fill vacancies, we're not gonna just, right, because, I mean, so I trust this board, right, but what my concern is,
It should be a policy.
is if you have a board who wants to appoint a very specific person, right? We are pulling out all the places that you have to post. And so there is potential of an abuse of power. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So that's just like my concern about not having it in there.
The numbers 1, 2, and 3 on page 4, like that one where it's like in 3 public
In
places.
3 public facing district
Yeah.
or applicable, and then it names, yeah. That's what. So that's just my, right? Again, I'm not concerned about the current space, but it is that future space of.
Do we pull it out because they told us to, or what?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right, what the FDA recommended.
Okay. Well, with that, do we have any closing?
So I have a question, so is that something you wanna put in our handbook next year? Like, do we wanna make a note to put that in our handbook, like we would for?
The handbook is yours, so if I would recommend that you
like,
get.
if you're saying we can't put it in the policy because the lawyer says take it out, the CSBA says take it out, then we could put something in our handbook
Yeah, I'll make
next
a
year.
note of it. I mean, I always hate, the more we put in there, the less valuable it is, because then you're not reading it. But I've already got a notes of stuff for the bigger redo next year, so I'll add that. Yeah, that idea to it.
Right, I mean, you can make reference to
this one.
And it could just be a short bullet potentially or something.
Yeah, in with how we're recruiting for election period.
Yeah.
Elections and,
Appointments.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it.
Yes. Okay, so the next item will be 11F, review and discuss board bylaw 9250, remuneration, reimbursement, and other benefits.
Yes, so this is another one that we discussed, I don't know, sometime earlier in the fall. And it was my understanding that there was a desire from the board to make it more clear about the occasions when absences should be acceptable by the board. In the end, the words that are just changed a little bit here in the end, and this is all from the attorney, it's up to the board member who's absent if they believe something is a hardship, and then it's up to the board to vote on it. So, and I've seen that on other bodies as well. Ultimately, it's not the superintendent, it's the individual members making that decision on behalf of themselves.
Okay, do we have any comments from the public referring this particular item 11F? Okay, seeing none, let's start our questions, comments. Okay, seeing none, we are gonna move to the next item, which is the information agenda, which there is nothing there. Oh yeah, do we need to bring this back on consent? I suppose we are. It's okay, isn't it? Yeah, we can bring this one on consent. And now the future meetings and adjournments, it will be Thursday, November 21st at 6 p.m. It will be a governance board meeting. And again, thank you to the 49% of people who voted in our county. Big difference from last time presidential election, which was 85, I think. But again, we have 80% on our Y, so we are very happy about that. And thank you to our translators who stayed until late with us and do a wonderful and important job. See you next time.
It's adjourned. Say adjourned.
And
adjourned.
Yeah. 9:30. 25.
Thank you guys.
Good night.